Hey gamers, it's Gentle Ben. Thanks again to all new subscribers. Consider subscribing yourself and leave a like if you enjoy the video. If you dislike the video, I'll know, but YouTube wants it to be a secret. So leave a comment with your thoughts right now on the launch of Battlefield. And with the current rough state of Battlefield 2042, I am still playing mostly Conquest and grinding for XP and unlocks. The community and content creators are busy posting videos and content of bugs, and some dev responses seem promising, and that eventually we'll get to a more finished feeling game. Not sure if it'll make a comeback, but I'm here to say that it's been a long love-hate relationship with this franchise ever since Battlefield 4. So for those of you who are just getting into the air vehicles, I wanted to share my 3 tips for beginner pilots. I am no ace pilot myself, and for me, vehicles have been what sets Battlefield apart from Call of Duty and other FPS games. Right now, jets and helis are extra floaty, and it seems like Sundance Wingsuit is a copy-paste experience when it comes to flight controls. So I'll cover recommended key bindings, ways to practice and get vehicle upgrades and unlocks, and also talk about situational awareness when flying. So tip 1 is what I recommend you change your key bindings to, and this is specifically for keyboard and mouse players. In a match or in the menu, head to Options and find the Keybinds menu and select your list of pilot keybinds. Here you should change your pitch up by using the spacebar. And you wouldn't believe this, but for some reason, rebinding this is in reverse. You have to bind pitch down to spacebar to actually pitch up, and I assume this is some kind of bug, but not sure if DICE will address this in an upcoming patch. Next, bind your afterburner key, which is default shift, and bind it to W, so accelerate and afterburner are double bound. This makes it easier to quickly tap to get quick bursts, and also frees up shift for a new bind. I have then bound my shift key to rear camera, and while in the cockpit, this is used for free look. Also, be sure to set pilot sensitivity to 100. This makes mouse movements for aiming and fine adjustments to trajectory snappy. Also find it makes overcompensating less common, since your jet or heli will react faster to your sudden and smaller changes to position in the sky. So now that you've rebound some keys, I suggest following tip 2, which is to load into a solo match against AI. Your solo matches against AI give you time to learn how to fly the vehicles and also to better understand the airspace and spawn deployments for either side on all the current maps played in all-out warfare. As you continue to practice facing enemy vehicles and infantry controlled by AI, your XP will be capped within a match or two, but you're still able to unlock vehicle upgrades and attachments. This is especially useful considering the base weapons aren't always the best. I can outright say that smart rockets are incredibly dumb and act as a soft nerf to the attack choppers for first-time pilots. It is very time-consuming to wait in a live match with 64 players on your team, waiting in spawn or actively flying any attack or transport air vehicles. So let me tell you how the sharing is caring timer that DICE uses to keep people from spamming works. There's about a 2-minute cooldown after you crash or lose your first air vehicle in combat. So not only do you have to wait for the vehicle to respawn, but you can't spawn into the new vehicle until DICE has determined someone else gets a chance to spawn into those vehicles, which makes learning how to survive longer in the jets and helis a bit difficult if you're in live matches and don't want to spend half the game waiting in spawn. Use the solo matches against AI as your warm-up game before jumping into Conquest or Breakthrough if you have the time and want to better get your muscle memory attuned to flying, not to mention just how awkward and floaty BF 2042 flying is compared to how Battlefield 3 and 4 jets and helis were developed to fly in those previous games. As you fly more in solo matches and Conquest, you'll find there's a big difference between AI and real players, and that real players will spam and focus you much harder and faster with anti-air lock-ons. This leads to tip 3 regarding your situational awareness while flying. Specifically, this has to do with knowing when to use your countermeasures and flares. Tip 2 should also help you unlock the repair mechanism, which works similarly to the fire extinguisher in Battlefield 4. And in tip 1, binding shift to rear camera can help identify what and possibly where you're being locked on from, if it's infantry, ground AA, or other air vehicles. Jets can for the most part decimate ground and air targets with some practice and patience. They're very fast and will have lots of airspace to evade and outrun helicopters, ground infantry, and Wildcat AA rockets from locking. They're by no means unstoppable, but ace pilots learn to dive in and out of enemy engagements quickly, so there's little time to be hit by multiple rockets. So when you hear the lock-on tone, your best bet is to wait for the full tone and not the acknowledged beeping. Waiting for full tone should be an indication that the lock-on has been fired at you. There's a small window to use your rear camera or exterior view to find a contrail, just like a bullet's tracer, to see its general direction. There's no lock-on direction indicator, so it can be frustrating when multiple enemies above and below could be the potential danger zone. Having your repair primed is also useful when expecting the second lock-on to hit. Once you fire your countermeasures, you're stuck waiting for them to reload, and either you're going to evade as fast as possible, or you can watch for the direction of the second lock-on to hit, then quickly evade while repairing and hopefully reaching a safe distance to reload both countermeasures and self-repair to slowly regain HP to take another dive at your current target. In my opinion, attack choppers lack the kind of acceleration to gain altitude to evade the lock-on distance. It's even more difficult to evade incoming locks by a jet approaching head-on. The jet's tactic is typically to release countermeasures within lock-on distance to land cannon fire and their own lock-on missiles as they approach a heli, making a quick getaway at full speed to reload and reacquire the heli for a second deadly blow. It's also a pain to find a teammate to sit gunner seat in a match with 64 random players and little communication among squads. DICE has also nerfed the only gunner seat weapon, the 30mm cannons, so even a fully loaded heli will really have to focus jet pilots first if they want to run strafing lines on ground infantry and vehicles without being pummeled by attack jets. The transport vehicles are also a nuisance because they're both more maneuverable, and the Condor or Hind have multiple gunner seats, meaning attack choppers have to remain above air transport vehicles like the Condor and Nightbird to avoid losing fights and being shot down. Until I unlock and max out the transport and attack air vehicles, I won't be able to say just yet how DICE should attempt to change or balance weapons and movement speed, but at my current level of experience, I want the attack chopper to have better upward acceleration for altitude climbing and something other than the nerfed 30mm cannon for the gunner seat. I would love to see TV missiles return to the battlefield. That in itself is a topic of discussion because seat swapping can still make attack choppers a serious burden to infantry, and there's a tactic to replenish countermeasures with pilot and gunner teams working in tandem. To recap, I recommend changing your keybinds, spend learning air vehicles flight and solo matches against AI, and to also unlock more weapons and upgrades for vehicles, and lastly work on situational awareness to overcome the lock-on spam, to make flying a rewarding experience, and to be of use in removing enemy air and ground targets. It will actually make a difference in your team's ability to capture and hold objectives. Again, I am not an ace pilot, and I typically watch Silk and Ghost on YouTube or Twitch to learn most of what I have mentioned here, so go check them out. Their aggressive tactics seem headstrong, but are also built on countless hours of flying and learning jets and helis in Battlefield. The enemy team just won't like it either. So let me know in the comments if you're still enjoying Battlefield 2042. It is indeed okay to like playing Battlefield even though the bugs aren't yet patched and optimization issues and hit reg issues are ongoing. But there is still fun to be had while also letting DICE and EA know this game is unfinished. I have yet to play Portal because I am grinding unlocks for All Out Warfare, and Hazard Zone is an outright waste of time. So thanks again for the new subscribers, and I really appreciate it if you leave a comment and left click the like button. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.